All right, welcome back everyone to the Insomnia Truesilver Championship. We're back for the next match. We're going to be casting Blackout versus Racket. We had a very short series. We barely even caught the first two games between the previous players, unfortunately, but we're going to be getting Blackout next up against Racket. They both have been apparently dominating when they move through the earlier brackets. Again, this is an open qualifier, so anything can happen. We see a lot of names that we don't know, and as a result of that, the types of decks that are brought and maybe the way people play, it's a very big spread.
Yeah, that's true. It's a very big spread, and I'm wondering how Blackout will pan, and how Blackout will do in this whole tournament because he's like one of the most known names in the tournament. It's cool to see him already twice. He's playing solid decks. He's playing. He's doing well, solid decisions in the game. So I hope he will actually be high in the bracket. And he's playing against a player that we don't really know anything about him, right? Do you know Racket?
I know nothing about Racket. It's one of the charms, I guess, of open qualifiers where you get to see
Mm-hmm.
smaller names, maybe that get a chance to make themselves, a little bit more known, especially if they end up going through the event and also winning it, perhaps, or finishing in the top three. Sometimes
Yeah.
the spotlight, and if they've been trying to break through, then that's definitely a good way for them to do that. So.
Yeah, and I still remember the situation when I first get to know Life Coach, and he was actually playing in an open tournament, and he wasn't known at all, And then you're getting paired against Life Coach, and it's like, oh, hi, dude, yeah, and you get to know each other, and then everything, happens.
Yeah, just a heads up, Life Coach is pretty good at this game, as it turns out.
Yeah.
He's had a pretty sick year so far, right?
Oh yeah, he did. He did. The same goes for Dice. But and Dice is also a player from open bracket tournaments because this is I think many people underestimate that open bracket tournaments is one of the ways that you can go pro. It can make they can make you a star basically. How they made out of Ties, how they made it out of Life Coach, how they made it out of other people in the scene.
6-0, right? It's also another good
Six so
example.
yes, I can say myself about me that because in the beginning in the beta when there were like a lot of open tournaments, I was always in the top. So this was a way for me also to break into the scene too. Like the first IEMs, I was there because on the offline event because I won actually online qualifier. So people underestimate the value of open bracket tournaments, and it's really cool to see that those are still happening. They have actually a broadcast. So I'm
Yeah.
really excited to cast and be here today.
One of the things to note as well is that League of Explorers kind of shakes up everything. Like we spoke about that a bit earlier when we started the broadcast, but the fact that so many decks are being, tried right now.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many things. Warrior-wise, we've got the Fatigue Warrior that's being tried, the whole Reno Jackson Control Warrior. We have the Patron Warrior, of course, that hasn't really been toyed around too much. We see Freeze Mage come back. We see Tempo Mage adapt itself. We have Zoo coming back with the Reliquary Seeker, Sea Giants, a lot of really cool twists to existing decks. And I feel like going forward, we're going to get even more of that stuff in League of Explorers as new cards are unlocked until the metagame stabilizes. But the thing is, with the amount of cards in the game right now, the idea of a metagame that stabilizes looks like it could take a very long time.
Yeah, definitely will take a long time because for the next 3 weeks we'll have new cards. Because there's a break for the holidays right now next week, and then we'll have
Right.
2 weeks of new cards from the third and fourth wing of League of Explorers, and those cards there will shake up the metagame as well. So for the next for the 3 weeks of releasing cards, and then I guess around at least 1.5 months, we'll have a revolution in the metagame.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of the Warlock I think I was talking about, the whole Reliquary Seeker. Yep, that's it. That's the Zoo deck that was referencing, the new Zoo, if you will, where it's
Made
running
by
the Dark
Rainet.
Peddlers. I don't know, man. I came up with the same list that, like, my list is a bit, I want to say cooler because it's running Divine Shields, but
Mm-hmm.
he plays Echoing Ooze. I don't know if we're going to see Echoing Ooze from Racket, but this type of list, right, that's been popularized by Reynad, most definitely. There's a lot of lists that kind of look like it, but it's the kind of Reynad's reinvention of Zoo. He was the initial, I don't say the initial that became so widespread is because of him. And now he
Mm-hmm.
came up with a Reliquary Seeker with Gormok, two cards that looked like they had potential, and he made it work. And we see now that Racket's bringing something very similar to that.
We'll see how it goes. The turn 2 is, of course, Abusive Surgeon on Hunted Creeper, so you can deal with the Mana Worm, which is insanely valuable for Racket right now. And an insane pain for Blackout to deal with, because a Hunted Creeper will still have insane amount of value next in the upcoming turns.
Yeah, I mean, there was the option for Racket to try and play the Dark Peddler on turn 1 with the coin. The problem with that, of course, is that if there's a Frostbolt, a Flame Cannon, and Arcane Missiles, then there's a good chance you just lose your board and the Zoo, the Tempo Mage takes over. So playing this very cautiously is the best way to do it. And you also can play Dark Peddler when you're looking for a 1-cost card that's specific, and you can find Power Overwhelming and Soulfire frequently. You'd be surprised how often you find that card.
Yeah, definitely. And now the Implosion will also most likely make sure that he can play the Recluse. What's the name of the card?
Gormok? Reliquary?
No.
The Seeker.
Yeah, the Seeker. So he can play the Seeker with value next turn, and maybe alongside Gormok, and that will be insane.
Yeah, right now the only thing that wow.
Okay,
the only thing
that's
Racket's
cool.
worried about is he doesn't want to spawn 1/1s, because if there's a Flame Waker with Arcane Missiles, then he loses them all. In this case, he's guaranteed to be able to spawn all he needs this turn, and then get himself a Reliquary Seeker. Because between the Gormok and the attack from the Creeper and the attack from the M-Gang boss, he can get a 5/5 with the Seeker and the Gormok on the board.
For 5 mana, with a 4
Yeah.
damage projectile. This is just like insane turn. How much value
Yeah,
is
we'll
that?
see.
Let's say it's 9 mana, 9 stats and a 4 mana projectile, which is worth 3 mana. So that's about, let's say, 5, 8, 7. I would say
Alright.
that's around 12 mana.
Yeah, but he's gonna opt for the bit of a slower play, it seems. I'm surprised he didn't opt for the Seeker. I guess he really wants to protect that Gormok from the 5/4. That's got to be the reasoning.
But is it just better to play a 5/5 instead? Like the 5/5 will get killed by the oh god, legendary card that I just forgot the name of, and basically that will make the trades easier next turn.
Yeah, no, I think I at least partially agree with you here. It's difficult to figure out whether or not that was objectively better, but I think it might have been a bit of a better decision to get the Seeker out. But he's still gonna get it this turn, and we see the Echoing Ooze from Racket, which is a card that you can probably debate on in this deck, just because it's a card that does very little on its own, but it enables so many things in this deck, so many things, that it's very hard not to want to put it in.
Yeah. Now we'll see if there will be a single PO. Nope.
Or
In the discovery.
Yeah. The Reliquary Seeker from the Peddler in this deck is actually surprisingly scary.
Oh yeah, that's a possibility too, right? But I think most situations you would like to get a PO. In most situations, right? Oh my god, there's a Reliquary Seeker.
Yeah, you see, this is pretty scary. This is pretty scary.
It is.
That's exactly the situation we're talking about. Another 5/5 for 1 mana here. You thought Sea Giants were the biggest possible threats. Nope. Welcome your new Zoo Overlords that spawn 5 manas. I mean 5/5s for 1 mana. It's actually quite crazy.
And the possibility of that happening is actually quite high, right? Because the class cards are being spawned more frequently in discoveries. So yeah, you
4
can get
times, I
flames.
think, right?
Yes, you can get flames.
400%.
You can get Reliquary Seekers, and you can get Void Walkers, and you can get what else is there? Blood Imps. But yeah.
Yeah, I can get Blood Imps, and yeah, definitely crazy. Corruption as well, which doesn't look like much, but it's something.
Well,
Give you
PO and
a little bit
Soulfire
of,
is also really cool.
Yeah, those are your favorite ones. So Racket is playing a variant of this deck that's including Flame Imps. The version that we saw from Reynad actually did not have Flame Imps. It's not a card that's necessary, because it's a card that it's a 1-drop, granted, but it doesn't live very often. And when it doesn't live, then you're not getting the value you're looking for out of Sea Giant, out of Seeker, and out of everything else. So
Makes sense. But there are no buffs apart from Definitive Argus for the Ooze, right? It's just a matter of having 2 minions on board.
wow, this executes really, really clutch for Blackout. And lets him deal with the 5/3 that's right on the board here.
really interested why did he choose to go with the Arcane Intellect instead of Spellslinger? Because the problem is he has almost no board presence. Oh.
So you think the fact that he didn't really have a high chance of finding something he needed was too much of a risk?
Yes, I think going for a second Spellslinger for AoE clear might have been better.
Sure.
Because, you know, it doesn't look good for you anyway. So, if you won't get a really good card, random card from the Spellslinger, it might be a problem for you.
Yeah, and right now I think Blackout's gonna have to like hinge all his hopes on a Blizzard.
No, he didn't even check the Spellslinger. Ah, that's weird.
Come on, Blackout.
Yeah, imagine if last turn he would have played the oh god, the Spellslinger, and then get a Twisting Nether from that. That's
Yeah,
just an
see?
example.
Why not?
Right.
I don't know. I wish he'd at least checked for Blizzard, right? They would have at least, like, Frost Nova, Blizzard, they bought a bit of time. Granted, they didn't win the game right away.
Of course.
But
Okay,
maybe,
that-
maybe, just maybe. Yeah, you could have done something. Oh well. We'll know whether or not it happens later on. For now, Blackout's deck is out, and Racket gets to replay this zoo list, and it's going to have to be a pretty good start for Blackout to contest it, and he does pick up the mini-bot and the cog hammer, so already right there, based on this, he's looking pretty solid.
Definitely, and no one drop for Racket, so he's forced to use a Hunter Creeper, which is not a problem, because Hunter Creeper on turn 2, it's a great great minion against the mini-bot. It's the only minion that actually can be traded with mini-bot just on its own.
Yeah, and one of the things to say as well is that it gives you something to use the Abusive Sergeant as a follow-up. But right now, Blackout is going to be fighting off those Echoing Oozes quite well. Racket is still hinging his hopes on the Abusive Sergeant trade, which he will get, followed by the Creeper. But I wonder what prompted him to use this ordering instead of the other one.
Yes, exactly.
I think
was
they both
wondering the
work
same.
out very similarly, but
Does they? I mean,
you'd have a 1/1 extra, I guess.
Well, you wouldn't be able to clear the mini-bot that turn. Because
Right.
you would have to attack first. So yeah, that makes sense actually. It makes sense
Yeah,
to play the
kinda like
Echoing
his
Goose. Yeah, it makes sense that you play the Echoing Goose first, and then you follow it up with a Haunted Creeper. Because you're 100% sure that you will trade with the mini-bot.
So now we have to know what Racket gets. Because if he gets, what kind of 1-drop could he get here that helps him out a lot? Ooh, these are really good cards.
All
You have
three
to
are very
really
good.
yeah. Power Overwhelming looks better because you already have the Doom Guard discarding your stuff. So it's either Void or Power Overwhelming, I think.
I think it's Void, because you don't want to tap next turn, right? I mean this turn either, because you will have something to play. You will play one minion, your opponent will just kill one unless he will play Consecration. So your Defender Argus will have a lot of value, I guess. But he chooses to keep the PO, which allows him to clear a huge minion from Blackout in the upcoming turns. Might be
Yeah, it's
important.
going to let him get good trades. If he expects this to be mid-range, then Belchers aren't an issue. Or at least a lot less.
But now let's see what will be the next draw, because if that... no, that's awkward. Do you go for the Defender of Argus just on the Voidwalker, or you go for the Flame and tap?
No, I think I like the Defensive Argus play here. It's forcing your opponent to have the Truesilver Champion or Blessing of Kings. And right now, Blackout's going to play it very slowly. That's very conservative of him, but ultimately probably correct, right? Just based on this. But that's a lot of damage right now in Racket's hand.
There's one PO that will trade with the Belcher, and Voidwalker will be able to clear this small slime from the Belcher too. And the next thing that will be played, I guess it's Flame Imp into Voidwalker. Sorry, into Defender of Argus. So both minions are again buffed, and wait, maybe you just don't even buff the Flame Imp, because then it's able to get
To protect it, I see.
Yeah.
Killed by Truesilver. Huh. That would have been a very interesting play from Racket. I think I like that, Lothar. I feel like that could have been justifiable. The thing is, with the like,
I mean,
the
you
only
don't
thing
even
you're weak
have
to
to
here-
get the Truesilver Champion, because you have to trade on board with Flame Imp.
right
that
with
was
the
a
weapon,
problem.
but you force the creeper to pop, right?
Yeah, but we forced it to pop with the Voidwalker anyway. He either doesn't attack, or he pops it. So that wouldn't be that bad, right? I mean, there's
I
a
think
few possibilities.
you're right. You're right, Lothar.
I mean, he made the correct call with the Echoing Ooze, so maybe he has a different plan that we are not aware of. So far, I like how he's playing.
Oh wow, Gormok.
But
He's
there's
not
no
gonna have a
implosion.
board for this, unfortunately.
He needs Implosion for next turn, that's for sure. Because then he might be able to pull off a Gormok. I like that phrase. And
Pull off a Gormok. Sure.
yeah. And this might be something like a turning point in this game, because it doesn't look good from next turn when there will be a Tyrion on board. Because he needs minions. He needs minions right now.
That's an egg, I think.
Is it? Oh yeah, it is. So you tap.
Alright. Well, you could Nerubian Egg, Power Overwhelming, Doomguard, and just get a 4/4.
Okay,
and a
so
5/7.
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is a very tough turn, I think. But that's the only play that I see that I like, unless you start tapping into dangerously low health threshold.
Yeah, but I like your idea of playing the egg and POing it instantly. So he does.
You don't get the damage, but
Oh, that was painful, I guess.
so
And there's a
if you
Truesilver
trade
champion on board,
Doomguard-
right? So if you trade, yeah, I'm not sure if I like that.
Oh well, we'll see what ends up happening here. I mean, Blackout's playing a secret paladin deck that hasn't drawn into many secrets, if any at all. And Tyrion Forging is still weak to Owl, right? There's still possibility that Racket is playing that. But now Blackout's got all the incentive in the world to trade away some of his health just to kill the giant. And Tyrion is protected. That 5/7 just won't deal with it. Implosion with the Gormok is one of the few ways to deal with that. But with another egg, doesn't look very good. You're still alive, though. You're still alive at the end of this turn.
Another giant. Too bad he wasn't able to play the egg and the giant in the same turn. But
All right, now
the
there's a
board
good
is
chance
getting...
lethal is found, right?
Yes. But now there's actually huge board developed, and I don't see a way for Racket to come back from this. Wait, it doesn't go.
Twisting Nether! No,
He
there's
didn't
no
go
way it's
for the
happening.
possible lethal.
I'm so sad, but I guess he's playing it safe. He feels like he doesn't have to play a
Well, you
dangerous
would
game.
have done the same turn anyway. You first sacrifice Hunted Creeper to see where the juggles
God.
go, and then
Iron Beak.
check, right?
Ironbeak Owl.
Yes. If he plays
That is
one,
all I have to say.
no, it's in Gengross.
All right. It would have been glorious, though. It would have been glorious.
Punished by not checking for the possible lethal. That would be hilarious. Anyway, Blackout takes the second game. It's 1-1 between those two players, and Racket will be forced to change the class. I'm wondering which class he will choose now. Oh, look at that, Noxious. You have no camera.
Yeah, I guess I'm just an ooze. That's what happens when I forget to
you're
put it
back.
on. So, yeah, I don't know what happened. Skype did its things. Now, as far as the matchups go, I feel like this Zoo deck is supposed to win against this type of Paladin, just because it floods the board so much. And it counters the Paladin's own flood. The thing is, if you both end up trading, you as the Zoo player rely on your board to stay alive in that list to do anything, whereas the Paladin kind of doesn't. But the twist that we saw on the Zoo list from Racket are kind of interesting because he's running Doom Guards. You didn't see that in the list that was initially popularized with the Seeker. There was no echoing, there was no Flame Imp, so he's kind of merging both styles into kind of a halfway Zoo instead of an all-in Zoo on the board flood. So it's interesting to see that he decided to bring that one.
Yep. Well, it won him one game, so I guess it works, or sometimes works. And it's still cool to see new iterations of deck. I mean, this is something I love really when a new expansion is coming out. All those switches in the metagame just because like 2 cards are released. That's just crazy, right? Because the cards itself, like when I first saw Religious Seeker, the Religious Seeker, I was thinking to myself, this is garbage. This is trash.
Right. It's a win more card. But
Yes.
then you look at all the win more cards and you're like, well, we could play them all together and probably have something that works.
Yeah. It's really insane that Warlock has actually a fantastic one drop. That's not not a one drop, but the value of it is just insane. And it with the combo, the synergy with implosion, the synergy with hunted creepers, that just massacre.
Yeah, it's
Anyway,
kind of cool that they've
we're
got
jumping into the Paladin versus Warrior. So
yeah, we kind of got sidetracked, but it's just, I mean, I'm pretty excited about what's coming up for Hearthstone. I think this expansion has been a great step it's been a step in the right direction at least, and so far I'm really happy with what I see. But to the game though, the Warrior here, we got Control Warrior probably. We see the Bash, we see the Shield Slam. I doubt it's anything else. Notably bad matchup for the Warrior here, a notorious bad matchup. Secret Paladin in its mid-range form usually is able to force the Warrior into bad positions where even a Brawl doesn't solve it, especially if they're able to come back with, you know, a 6-drop, a 7-drop, an 8-drop. When Paladin curves high, it's very difficult for the Warrior to stop them at every step.
Yeah, that's true. And the problem is, well, I actually saw this matchup already, right? But against Patron, and it's not that different. But the problem is, the Control Warrior has a Brawl which can help, but it might be just too late to play against Mysterious Challenger and the, you know, just insane amount of value that the Paladin brings. And this is how it actually looks now. You have a lot of small minions. Those are hard to deal with as a Warrior unless you have an AoE clear and you only play probably one Whirlwind, something like that. So it's really a pain.
The thing is, right now what Blackout is doing is he's saying, all right, Racket, if you have a Brawl, you're not playing it because of Lotha. But Racket has other ways to deal with this, right? Like the Shield Slam he's got here doesn't execute that he can keep for Mysterious Challenger, Dr. Boom, he's got the BGH. Right now, Racket's hand, even without a Brawl, looks really strong. I don't know how it'll pan out, but this is the type of hand that, even though it looks clunky on paper, against something like a Paladin that's trying to flood the board instead of dropping Mysterious Challenger, it's going to do a lot of work.
But what do you do against the Tyrion, you know? Because even when you deal with the Tyrion, which is not a big issue if you have something on board already, and you don't have to attack with your weapon, right? And you execute it, it's still 15 damage to the face from the weapon, right? That's nothing to like you just ignore. He picks up and revenge.
Oh my goodness.
Well, this is just crazy.
That is the card that could literally salvage this game completely on its own, because the revenge acts as a whirlwind effect. Obviously in this case it's not going to do 3 damage AoE, but he doesn't need that much. All he needs is to be able to, if he triggers something like redemption, something like avenge, and the perfect target as well, because now he can execute the same target, use maybe even bash with it if he wants.
But why didn't he go for the hunted creeper with the attack?
If it buffs one of the 1/1s, then you can't, like if the Avenge buffs one of the 1/1s, then you have a 4/3 and a 3/2 on the board.
It could have been buffed anyway when he attacks the 1/1.
No, I guess he was happy to buff the creeper with it, to kill it with the execute.
Okay, yeah, maybe that makes sense.
Yeah, it's like, it's 1 million difference. It's a very small percentage chance though, so. Is he playing it slowly enough? Oh man, he is playing the slowest game of his life with that Whirlwind.
Makes sense somehow, but he doesn't. That's something I was worried about. He does have an activator now for the second execute for the Tyrion. Or does he? Okay.
Wow, well he just found something. I don't know if that qualifies in your book as an activator, but Shield Slam that hits for 8 looks like an activator to me. And the good thing for him is that he can even play the Belcher on the back of this.
Yeah, this is the one problem I see with Revenge. 2 mana is so is just not as flexible as 1 mana Whirlwind, you know, and you can almost every time you can almost squeeze Whirlwind in every single turn, you know, because it's like easy to play the 1 mana cards, to squeeze it on turn 5 with a Pile Shredder. Just add basically just 1 turn drop. You have a 5-drop, 2 5-drops. You can play Whirlwind on the 6th turn, right? If you have a 2 6-drop, you can play 1 on 6 and then the Whirlwind on 7 with another drop. And that's the problem with Revenge, because you're always 2 steps behind, not just 1. It's not as big of a difference like in between a 5 or 6, because it's 1.5, right? I mean, sorry, 1/5 of the difference.
One
in mana
fifth, yeah,
cost.
exactly.
And
The
here-
mana cost increase is very drastic. 2 to 1
Exactly.
is a really big deal, but that's why you have to calculate the potential payoff of dealing 3 in AoE. Like, how much is that worth to me? How much is dealing 3 in AoE when I'm low on health? Does that even help me more than the 1 damage AoE? And I think the reasoning for the inclusion of Revenge has a lot to do with the fact that you're looking at a lot of decks now. They're running very sticky minions, right? And they'll be aggroing you down. And as a result of not having the 3 damage AoE, you're very often finding yourself in a spot where you just can't deal with anything, even with 1 damage AoE. Wow, that gives him a good BGH, right? Cruel Task BGH.
Yeah, there's a possibility. And that's the only option to stay on the board, still in the game, because otherwise you're being run down.
Yeah, the Acolyte's not gonna do it. It's gonna give him at least 1 card, which he really... The fact that he's putting down 3 minions this turn is...
3 minions and 2 armor, so he's at 14, there's 5, 10 damage on board. So there's no way...
It has to be Kings, right? Yeah. It had to be Blessing of Kings here in order
Yeah,
to...
but most people are playing 1, so I assume he's playing 1 too. Alex
No
Ross has
way.
been drained. Wow.
Ow! And the last weapon charge was used up by Blackout, who's turning on the aggression, but that's the problem. He's turning on the aggression as his opponent's about to heal up, so he wasted a lot of damage that's going to be negated completely.
No, not really, because he's trading, so that's a wise decision by Blackout here. But it's still, 8 points of heal from Racket will make a difference, but is he able to do it right now? I think he has to, right? There's 2 points of damage from the weapon each turn. You can squeeze
you
and
gotta feel bad
execute.
though, right? Because if you execute the juggler and an avenge triggers, then you're basically back to where you were because you're spawning at +3/+2 on the board. But if there's competitive, to address it now.
Let's see. Oh, that's a good draw. A huge mysterious challenger. That's a huge draw.
I mean, he's got all the secrets left almost. The only thing he doesn't have, I think, is Avenge, since we've already seen 2 of those. Repentance could help a bit. Nope, not in this case. Because I was going to say, if the Repentance triggers on Sylvanas and he finds a way to kill her, then maybe he's able to steal something big. But in this case, it's just not going to do anything.
That would be hilarious to see a whirlwind draw into Sylvanas Repentance.
Into Revenge, yeah.
Kill the
Revenge would be perfect, right? Because you steal a 6/6.
Yes, exactly.
Oh my god. Alright, well, Racket's gonna fall down to the Secret Paladin, and that deck is working out a lot nicer than I expected, even in last hero standing. So Blackout's gonna get to replay it.
Here. Let me just stop you right here. Racket chose his Contra Warrior into Secret Paladin. That means his third deck is even worse against that, right?
That's the assumption, but we've seen a lot of people make very difficult, very weird judgment calls against decks like these. And apparently it looks like Racket's playing a Druid deck.
Okay, interesting.
What do you think is worse? I feel like Warriors may be worse than Druid in some cases. If your early game lines up as Druid, you can get some good stuff going on against Secret Pally. Is it just that much worse? I feel like both are tough, though.
Both are tough, but Paladin has the option to cheat on the curve, right? I mean, you're basically the difference is that Warrior relies on the weapons in the early game, and the mini bot can stop that immediately in the track. And well, Druid can always play those pesky minions in the beginning of the game. The Analysis Aspirant can help a lot. You have the access to the swipe, which can be really huge. I don't know. I like, but I feel like Druid more against Secret Paladin than Warrior.
Right, the AoE from the 1 damage swipe can do a lot of work, but we saw Revenge, so maybe he felt that was a bit better. So Racket here opts to go for the Wrath into the Aspirants afterwards. The reasoning is obvious. You want to make sure that you can keep that ramp. I thought with the second Aspirant, maybe he would hold on to that Wrath because it was guaranteed to get a follow-up. But in this case, it's still working out because Blackout has no way to deal with that 2-3 right now.
It's interesting.
Wow. Swipe value. If he wants it, he can take it.
I guess you should, right?
I think so. That's the... I mean, you're gonna defuse a really massive threat, but that also works out the fact that he can protect the aspirant behind this board. He's opening himself up to Truesilver champion, if there's one, but he keeps the swipe, which also works out.
Oh,
Ooh, good hits.
that's a
Good
huge
hits.
swing. Wow, he bluffed the swipe really well against Blackout, and Blackout will be buried 6 feet under with that swipe.
That was a perfect bluff by Racket. So the option he took here to play the 5-drop, instead of swiping last turn, sent a signal to Blackout, well, there's no swipe in my hand, you can do whatever you want. And in this case, Blackout read it, you know, right or wrong, however you want to play it, and Racket then got the maximum swipe value.
He just got
And it's
bluffed.
not something you see every time. Wow.
So now the keeper has an option to deny the drop from the Palliser, but I think the correct decision here is just to play, low tip, and just wait, then just deal 4 damage. Because how it works in this matchup is that you have to be aggressive. You have to be the aggressor, and then Paladin kind of struggles to take the tempo back because he is not as bursty as the druid, and you're always in fear that your opponent can just burst you down, or just take the big game hunter from the top of the deck and kill the mysterious challenger after the redemption avenge combo from Noble Sacrifice, which guarantees a target for the big game hunter on the 6/6, which will be 9/8.
This is absolutely perfect for Racket. There's Dr. Boom, but the Dr. Boom will be addressed by the board. There's no way you can't deal with this if you're Racket. Dr. Boom may be an issue, but it's never as big an issue as a big mysterious challenger that you leave unanswered. That is so crushing.
Yep, it is, definitely it is. Now, even with that Dr. Boom, how much damage is that? 9, 11, 13, 17 damage, single Savage Roar. Oh, a Raptor. Look at that.
A Savage Roar, a swipe, those do it. If you just go face, you pick one of those 2 cards and you win immediately.
Oh,
that's not it.
But you go
He's gonna have to make
face
some
with
trades.
everything. No, why? You have 26 health, and you don't want to lose any minions right now. Your opponent will get buffed by the competitive spirit, but I feel like dealing damage, instant damage when your opponent can't really heal, is more valuable because then you have outs. You have Force of Nature, you have Swipe, you have...
But what if Boombots go Rampage and then you don't get, like, you get Tyrion?
You have
just
two
lose?
You have 2 Death Rattle minions in hand, man.
Alright, alright.
I mean,
Alright,
what's the
Lothar,
reason?
you need to teach me the lesson of when to go face. Firebat's pretty good at teaching that to people. I still play very scared in situations like these.
I think-
I would have probably at least made trades like he did.
Way too many people are actually playing scared in most situations because you put your opponent in a situation when he has to make a comeback, and even if he makes a comeback, but even if he has a comeback, he's really low on health, and he's dead to so many outs. Because right now, look at that, he's on 11, he has minions on the board, and Druid is left with 2 cards. If those are not okay. Ancient of Lore and maybe Savage Roar. Sorry, Force of Nature. But it looks like
Well, that swipe is going to do a lot of work as well, but I see what you mean, right, about the whole being aggressive, because now Blackout would be a lot lower on health. The thing is, the same situation with 2 Boombots to throw and a Dr. Boom alive would be a lot worse for Racket. And
still...
Tyrion, crazy card again for Blackout.
Okay.
That's
I mean, there's always
very
risk
scary.
from both ways. If you go aggressively, if you go passively, you're risking not winning the game. But if you go aggressively, you're just risking... I don't know what. Basically, you just risk that your opponent can
Never
make
winning.
a comeback.
Yeah.
But you, at the same time, you have an out still to win the game. If you go passively and you trade, and then your opponent makes a comeback, then you already lost the damage output, and you lost board control. So it's like a lose-lose, right?
Alright, well, that's a really tricky spot for Racket, though. He's got to make a call as to what he wants to do. I mean, popping the shield looks kind of appealing, but what if it's redemption? You're going to have to swipe. And I think you're going to be okay with it. Because you know that what comes back is going to be the 1/1.
So now he knows it's not redemption, but it's noble sacrifice. But look at that. Now it's getting problematic, right? He has to deal with the Tyrion. His opponent is as
Did he just pick up the Keeper of the Grove?
Oh my god, he did.
Oh no! Oh, the devastating almost comeback from Blackout. But now he feels like maybe there's a chance he can do it, right? He's got a Kings, he's got a 6/6. He thinks if I can dodge a swipe or Force of Nature, maybe I win. But it's going to be very tough with the amount of cards that Racket has drawn not to pick up at least one of those two.
So that's 5 damage right now. And Salvador, that's a win. That's game. And he would have been able to kill him 2 turns before that if he would just go aggressively. But yeah.
Yeah, I see your point, and I think ultimately you're right. And Racket's going to equalize the series. He's going to get to replay the Druid, and down goes the Paladin, which means right now what Racket's hoping for is that Blackout's last deck is not something that's good against Druid. So what do you think he's trying to
Blackout was opening with Tempo Mage, right? He was opening with Tempo Mage. So that's actually a huge dodge from Racket, because playing Tempo Mage into Druid, or rather the other way around, running Druid into a Tempo Mage is a suicide, and running mid-range Druid against Control Warrior, that's actually something you want to do. So Racket is, in my eyes, is the favorite here in this match.
I agree with you. I think the fact that Druid used to be sort of weak against Control Warrior, I mean, sort of good against Control Warrior, changed as soon as they started curving lower. But I wonder how much the Raptor changes the early game value, right? Because the Raptor replaces in some lists the kind of shade plays that some people try to pull. And as a result of that, sometimes you're able to get yourself a lot more stickiness and maybe recurring damage. Right.
And
Blackout develops the weapon immediately. Sure.
You need that weapon, especially that. Did he see the Raptor? He did see it, right? In the last game.
Yeah, he did see it at the very end, I think.
So he knows there's more early game in this in this Druid. There's more early game.
Somebody bring more early game this Raptor. There's a lot of 1-drops in this Raptor. A lot of 1-drops.
Injured Kvaldir, which is not injured anymore. That would be a good
Dust
drop.
Devil.
Oh my god, what a beast!
He got 6th attack before he died, Lothar. Did you see that?
Yeah, what a beast.
Crazy.
Literally. 10-5 Ancient of Law or Dr. Boom? Which do you favor against a warrior which will have 5 mana in the next turn? Which do you favor?
So, Shield Block, Shield Slam would kill the Ancient of Lore. Well, but never mind Dr. Boom, it's actually not an option anymore. We're out of this. But technically, I would probably opt for the Boom because there's only BGH or Whirlwind, Execute, or Brawl. And then I can follow it up with Druid of the Claw into Lore. But yeah, I mean, this works out.
Okay, let's see how it goes. Emperor for 10-6? That's crazy, man.
And Blackout has nothing to do besides a really mediocre Bash Execute on something as weak as a 5/5, and look at this. He can't even play Gorehowl next turn. BGH is not an option. Harrison Jones is not an option. All these cards just look awful.
I mean, we discussed it already, but in my eyes, Druid is still really favored against Control Warriors.
Oh my god. Yes, you're right. It's very favored. I agree.
Control Warrior has to hit weapons first, bashes and shield slams, and Druid has to only get minions. That's it. So Druid is just relying on minions, and that's it. He doesn't even need the acceleration against warriors, because it's just fine to drop huge minion after huge minion after huge minion, and followed up by a huge minion, because that's something that warriors can't deal, you know, every single time.
Yeah, it seems like they used to be able to, but the thing is now the speed at which you're doing it is a bit faster. I just feel like Control Warrior is still a lot. I feel like Druid is favored overall, maybe because of the changes to the deck, but the Aspirant I feel weakened Druid against Warriors. It made it a lot weaker because you don't have as much mid game, and Justicar Trueheart really makes it tough for you as a Druid to get through the last bit of armor. So if you don't find your ramp, you're pretty much dead every single time.
Oh, look at that. He's dead.
Yeah, apparently Emperor Thorson is a pretty fair card. Racket will take it 3-2 over Blackout. So Blackout's out. That's it. Black is out indeed.
Racket was playing well. I really have to say that. His decisions, especially with the zoo, with the I'm still thinking about that ooze on turn 2. You know, because I would have probably just slammed the Haunted Creeper without any. Without that experience against Secret Paladins in that situation, or any Paladins, because every Paladin is playing minibot. So I'm really impressed with his decisions here, and we'll see how it goes in the next rounds for him. I mean, maybe we'll not cast his game, maybe we will, but we'll see how it goes. Next match that we'll be casting is 2 Beers versus Hatchman. We have no break, so we can just talk it through till we get to the games. And Noxious, what's up with you?
Not much, man. I've been playing League of Explorers.